Alright guys, here is our asynchronous math lesson for today. We are simplifying numerical expressions. Remember, we are safe, so only share school-related information, no outside links, no personal information. Make sure everything is appropriate, your background, clothes, and conversations. Also, make sure that you are friendly. That means you are having encouraging conversations and helpful at all times. Your environment is free of distractions. Your microphone is free of distractions, so is your background, okay? Make sure no other members are in the camera unless they're helping you with your technology. At LSOA, remember, we are always ready to learn. Listen carefully, engage with our cameras on, and participate. We arrive on time, be prepared, respect and encourage everyone, and we never give up. Our vision is learning success opportunities for all. Mission, we will ensure highly effective instruction for all students, learning coaches, and staff members to achieve success at LSOA and beyond. We value student-centered teamwork, accountability, respect, and stewardship. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into our warm-up question here. I see 3 times 4 plus 2 minus 5. So I want you to take a second, pause the video, and work through this warm-up question. Do about 1 minute and then come back. All right, remember, when we are solving a problem like this, we are using something called the order of operation. I see that we have some parentheses here. I see multiplication, I see addition, I see subtraction. So there are different operations that we need to use. We just need to know what order in which we need to solve them. So first things first, I am going to start with my parentheses. So I am going to start by, if it lets me, yay, it is, by solving everything inside of my parentheses. So 4 plus 2 I know is 6. See if I can write it. Then I want to bring everything else down. So 3 times 6 minus 5. I started with my parentheses because that is the very first step in the order of operation using PEMDAS. I don't have any exponents. Now I can move to multiplication and division in the same step. I do not have any division, so I am going to multiply 6 times 3, or 3 times 6, which gives me 18. And then I will bring everything else down. Now I can subtract as my final step because I do not have any addition. 18 minus 5 is 13. So your final answer should have been 13. And I like to put a box around mine so that I know this is my answer. All right, let's move right along with our lesson. Oops, I need to clear that off. All right, what are we learning today? Today, I can simplify numerical expressions that have one level of grouping. This will fall under TEAC 5.4F, which is applying the order of operations to evaluate numerical expressions, as well as 5.3K, solving multi-step whole number word problems. Some vocabulary words we want to make sure that we understand before we jump into our lesson is numerical expression. That is a phrase that includes numbers and operation symbols only. It does not have an equal sign. Here is an example, 5 times 3 plus 4. There is no equal sign, only numbers and operation symbols. The order of operations, that is the rule that determines the sequence in which calculations are performed. So the order in which we are going to solve a problem. And it's also remembered by the acronym PEMDAS, which is what we are going to talk a little bit more about today. And you've probably already heard about it. Evaluate is our final vocabulary word that we want to make sure we understand. That is to find the value of a numerical expression by performing the calculation. That just means to solve a problem. So PEMDAS, if you remember PEMDAS, because you may have already learned it, we're going to go over it. P is for parentheses, E exponents, M multiplication, D division, A addition, and S for subtraction. Now this is the order in which we solve problems. We usually remember by saying this little slogan, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. All right, now we are going to simplify numerical expressions that have one level of grouping. So I do not want you to do anything while I solve this problem. Just watch. So eyes only. It says Maria has 30 baskets. Each basket contains twice as many apples than baskets. She gives away 55 apples. How many apples does she have left? Well, I already see that this is a word problem. So I know in order to solve this word problem, I can use this cubes strategy. And we learned a little bit about this last week. So C stands for circling all the important numbers. So if I'm looking through this word problem, I see Maria has 30 baskets, so that's important. Each basket contains twice as many apples than baskets. Twice. That is a number word, like an ordinal number. So I'm going to use that twice. She gives away 55 apples. She does. 55 is a number I'm going to circle. And how many apples does she have left? Now, I've circled all my numbers. I'm going to underline the question. The question says, how many apples? Oh, that line is wonky. Let's try that again. How many apples does she have left? I'm trying to find the eraser, guys. Here it is. No, I didn't want to erase everything. That's okay. Let's go back through and circle our numbers. We got this. So we circled 30. We circled twice. That's a number word. And we circled 55. Now we can underline our question. Our question, how many apples does she have left? So here is my question. This is what I am trying to figure out, what I'm trying to solve. Now I can box in any key words, any words that are going to help me figure out how to solve this problem. Well, let's think. I like to break it down sentence by sentence. Maria has 30 baskets. I think that is important. The word has, because it didn't say she gave them away. It didn't say someone else had them. It says she has 30 baskets. So that's what she currently has. Each basket contains twice as many apples than baskets. So each basket is important. Not some of them, not half of them, but each. That lets me know that every single one of them contains twice as many apples than baskets. I like that word, than baskets. That's telling me to do something. She gives away 55 apples. That's good to know because remember she has 30, but she's going to give away 55. I need to know that. And then my question, how many apples does she have left? Okay, so now let's solve it out. Let's come up with an expression that we can use to help us solve this out, okay? So I know that Maria has 30 baskets. So she has 30. I know that each basket contains twice as many apples than baskets. So twice as many means that we're probably going to multiply. Twice as many. That is times 2. So she has 30 baskets, but each basket contains twice as many times 2. Okay, twice as many apples than baskets. And then she's going to give away 55. So I'm going to take away, which is subtraction, 55. Ooh. Now, I don't have any parentheses on here, but I know that in order to figure out how many she has left, I'm going to have to do something first. I need to figure out how many apples there are first, right? So 30 times 2 is going to help me figure out how many apples there are first. Now I can follow my steps. 30 times 2, well, 2 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6, so that is 60. I'm going to bring everything else down, minus 55. And when I subtract, because I don't have anything left to do, 60 minus 55 is 5. So how many apples do she have left? She has 5 apples left. Now that is how we work through and solve this problem. I hope you have your pencil and paper because I want you to work through and help me to solve the next one. Let's move on. All right, we are going to do this one together, okay? We are still simplifying numerical expressions with only one level of grouping. That means there's only one grouping here, one set of parentheses. That's all. It says Tom found 55 boxes. Each box contains 12 toys. He donates half of them. About how many toys does he have left? So let's think through. What is the first thing that we should do? Well, let's use our cube strategy and circle all the numbers. So if you are writing this down, you don't have to write down the problem. I want you to at least write these important numbers down, okay? So let's go sentence by sentence. Tom found 55 boxes. Are there any important numbers in this sentence? If so, I want you to write it down now. Yes, 55 is important. So you should have written down 55. I'm going to circle it. Okay, let's look at our next sentence. Each box contains 12 toys. If you see an important number here, go ahead and write it down. If you think that the number 12 is important, I am going to circle it because I think it is important as well. So let's circle 12 and you write it down. All right, next sentence. He donates half of them. So write down anything that you think may be important numbers in that sentence. Do you see any? Write it down. Okay, I don't see any important numbers in that sentence, so I'm going to move on to the last sentence. About how many toys does he have left? About how many toys does he have left? Are there any important numbers in that sentence? Nope. All right, let's move on to the next step. Underlining the question. I see our question. I want you to write this question down on your sheet of paper. This question is, about how many toys does he have left? This is what we are trying to figure out. This is what we are trying to solve. How many toys does he have left? All right, now let's go back through and box in any keywords, anything that we found important that's going to help us to solve this problem. Remember, go sentence by sentence so that you don't miss anything. Tom found 55 boxes. If you see an important word here, go ahead and write it down. Tom found 55 boxes. I think, and I'm sure you wrote this down, found is important. This is going to help us figure something out because 55 has to be attached to something, right? So he found 55. Now, let's keep going. Each box contains 12 toys. Write down the word that you think is important in this sentence, if there are any important. All right, you should have written down the word contains. That is important. It is telling us that there are 12 toys in each, probably need to box that in too, right? Box. So found 55 boxes. Each contains 12 toys. Next sentence, he donates half of them. Write down the word that you think is important, and then let's come back and talk about it. I am going to box in the word half. That is important. Not only the word half, but donates. Because when you donate something, that means you are giving it away. So he's going to donate half or give away half of them. Then the last sentence is our question, so we don't have to box anything there. Now we are ready to evaluate, which is step E. Evaluate what steps we need to take and then solve it. So let's see. Write down the expression that you think we should be using to solve this problem. What do you think? Write it down. All right, so we know that Tom found 55 boxes. We also know that each box contains 12 toys. And then he donates half of them. Usually when you do something with the half, you divide it by 2. So we're probably going to be dividing something by 2 here. Don't talk about my little symbols. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. All right. So if each box, which we have 55 of them, contains 12 toys, I need to figure out how many toys there are total before I can figure out how many he has left. So what do I need to do with the number 55 and 12? 55 and 12. We are probably going to do what? Multiply them. All right. So if you wrote down 55 times 12 divided by 2, that is a great start. But remember, we have to figure out how many toys there are total first before we can donate half of them. So that means you should have put parentheses around 55 and 12, and then we can donate half, which is divided by 2, and figure out how many there are left. So if your expression looks like this, way to go. Give yourself a pat on the back. Now let's go ahead and solve it out. All right, I'm going to give you a moment to solve it out and then come back and let's see it. Let's check it. All right, so when we multiply 55 times 12, we get 660. So I'm going to write 660, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. So bring down your donate half or divide by 2. All right, now we are going to divide 660 by 2 because we are cutting it in half because he donated half of them. How many toys does he have left? He has 330 toys left. If you got that, great job. I hope you wrote your expression down right because you need to know that you are doing what's in parentheses first, which means we had to figure out how many toys there were total before we can donate half of them. Now let's move on. All right, we are down to the you do. Same thing. We are simplifying numerical expressions that have one level of grouping. You are getting ready to do this one on your own, okay? So it says a gardener planted 3 rows of flowers. Each row contains a total of 6 flowers. After planting, the gardener decided to remove 12 flowers. How many flowers does the gardener have now? So go ahead and pause this video. Work this out on your own and then come back and check it to make sure you have the right answer and you did it correctly. Pause this video now. All right, let's look at it. A gardener planted 3 rows of flowers. So very first step, we are going to circle all of the key numbers here. Looking at this first sentence, I do not see any physical numbers, but I do see number words. So I circled the number word 3. Each row contains a total of 6 flowers. Circle the number word 6. After planting, the gardener decided to remove 12 flowers. We circled the number word 12. Next step, underlining the question. Our question here is how many flowers does the gardener have now? Then we can go back and box in all of our words that are going to help us to solve this expression. So I boxed in rows, each contains, total, remove, and flowers. And this is the expression that I came up with. 3 times 6, in parentheses, minus 12. 3 times 6 is in parentheses because that is going to give us the total number of flowers first. And then we are subtracting 12 because he decided to remove 12 flowers, which means he's going to take them away. So 3 times 6 is 18. When we subtract the 12 that he removed, we end up with 6 flowers. So how many flowers does the gardener have now? He only has 6. All right, here is your exit ticket. I want you to think about the cube strategy that we used, and I also want you to think about PEMDAS. Think about the steps that you take. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Do what's in parentheses first. We're not worried about the E because we're not working with exponents. Multiplication and division in the same step, working from left to right. Addition and subtraction in the same step, working from left to right. So here is your exit ticket. Go ahead and work this out. And then you are done with your lesson for today. So pause this video, work through your exit ticket. If you want some additional practice, I have some extension activities for you. So you can use task 1, which will be you will create your own word problem that involves simplifying a numerical expression with 2 levels of grouping this time, not 1. So include specific numbers and a real-life context. So come up with your own word problem. This time try to put 2 groupings in there instead of 1, okay? And your task 2, you can illustrate, which means draw out a scene that represents a word problem involving numerical expressions. So you can do 1 or 2 groupings here, okay? Make sure you write a narrative explaining the problem and the steps taken to solve it. You do not have to turn this in. This is just if you want additional practice. This is something that you create on your own. But make sure you complete your exit ticket first, and then you can move on to your extension activity. All right, that's it, guys.